Well, years later, plenty of questions remain about a real estate deal for a city building that has been unusable. The city ponied up millions of dollars for a building on Ash Street downtown before it was found to be plagued by asbestos issues. Addressing the problems could cost taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars. One big question, why the city approved the purchase after only getting an inspection report from the seller rather than an independent party. In an op-ed in the Union Tribune, City Council member Vivian Moreno argues the deal must have been rooted in fraud, and she joins us now by phone. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on, Virginia. It's a pleasure to speak to you.
Well, I want to ask you, I know that you have asked the district attorney to conduct a criminal investigation into this. Can you outline your points as to why you think this must have somehow included fraud?
Well, it's clear that it was a deliberate fraud because people were lied to. The deal essentially was fraudulent. The reason I wrote the op-ed is because if you take a step back and you look at the facts, this deal was just a plain deliberate fraud. The council and the public were lied to about the condition of the building. The true seller was never disclosed, as was required by City Charter 225. Due diligence was never performed by the city. I mean, Virginia, I bought my home 500 square feet in San Isidro, and I absolutely hired a third party to give me, a breakdown of what my home was worth. So due diligence essentially was never performed by the city, and the asbestos problem was very highly minimized. The council was told that this was a Class A office space due to the excellent condition of the interior finish and upgrade mechanical system, and that all it needed was a $10,000 power wash. But these were blatant lies. The building is a Class B. It's not a Class A. The interior finish is full of asbestos, and it's not in excellent condition. The really important factor here, I think, as a regular citizen, is to just let it sink in that the property inspection report that was cited was a visual inspection paid by the seller, and that was never disclosed prior to the deal being approved. And as I mentioned, I mean, I have a humble home in San Isidro, and I went on Yelp and I looked for my inspector to come and give me the really true, assessment of my home.
Now, you mentioned in the op-ed, you talk about the true seller. Can you give us a little more detail on that and what you think was going on there?
Well, I mean, for one, we had a responsibility as City Council to disclose who the true seller was. And that's based on City Charter Section 225. It's based on the city law, and that was never disclosed to the council.
And who was the true seller, as far as you can tell in the documents?
I mean, as far I can't say who the true seller was at this point. And one of the things that I'd like to point out was that this happened 2 years before I became a council member.
Now,
I think things in the news are starting to come out about who the true sellers are, but that's exactly why I called the district attorney, Summer Steffens, to look into this criminally to see if there's any action that could be taken around the 101 Ash deal. What we need is accountability.
And have you gotten any response from the district attorney in terms of what's going to happen here?
Well, the response that we received was that they were in receipt of my letter.
All right. Councilmember Vivian Moreno, appreciate you talking to us, raising these issues, and see where this goes from here. Thank you again. Jim?
Thank you. And I just want to go ahead and add that the city shouldn't burden generations of taxpayers to honor a deal that was conceived in fraud and deception. So that's why I'm really stepping out for the average citizen here and saying this isn't right.
Thank you again. Yeah, it's clear that you're really trying to work for people here to get to the bottom of this if there is something that is being hidden. And we appreciate you talking to us. Thank you again, Vivian Moreno.